Hey artists, we're going to paint our Halloween tier tray kit, and I'm going to start with the part that I think is the most fun this month, and that's doing a little bit of ombre on the back of your If You've Got It Haunted little sign. So I'm going to do orange and purple, so I'm going to start by just cutting off just the very tip of each of these, and I'm actually going to pour this directly onto my board. So I'm going to just do a little line here at the bottom, come up a little bit, and kind of taper off, and then do the same thing with the orange, but coming from the top, the purple, I'm sorry. So I'm going to do some streaks and then kind of start tapering off. And I may need more, and that's fine, but what I'm going to do is use this paintbrush and just swipe in long strokes back and forth until I have covered the part that's going to be just orange really well. Okay, I'm going to want some more. Okay, and then as I move up, I'm going to start getting into that purple just a little bit with some orange still in my, I still want some orange in my brush as I move into that purple. Okay. Use those long even strokes, and we're going to introduce a little bit more of the purple down into the orange until we get that kind of fade ombre that we're going for. So just keep, you don't want to move into the orange with too much purple, just like you didn't want to move into the purple with too much orange. So you just kind of keep working this until you're happy with the fade. Okay, hopefully you can get a good idea of what that's going to look like for you. I do have quite a bit of purple in here, so I'm going to kind of get out what I can because I want to smooth out this bottom part down here. So just long even strokes right here along the bottom to kind of smooth that out. And if you wanted to work some orange back up into your purple, you could do that. You can really work at this for a while with multiple coats if you want. But I just kind of like a mixed look. I'm gonna just do a little bit of more orange up here. So there's some darker orange streaks up there, and that's what we've got. I'm gonna lighten up this purple streak down here a little bit, just so you can see if you get too much purple in one spot or something, you're just going to add a little bit more orange, and it's gonna lighten it up. Don't forget, if you really don't like how it's looking, go ahead and take a wet wipe or a baby wipe or wet rag, damp rag, and you can get most of it off and kind of start over. So but I am happy with that, how that looks. And so we'll move on to, I'm going to go ahead and do the black next. So for black, I'm going to be using one of my wedges. So again, just cut off the very tip of your pouch so that the paint doesn't, start spilling out everywhere. And I'm just going to pour a little bit onto my tray, or my box here, to dip into. So you can see I have a very small hole cut in my pouch. So I'm going to do 2 of my bats black, and I'm actually going to go back afterwards and add some fun details to the bats. Don't necessarily want just plain black bats, so I'm going to do some little polka dots, just some shading, just kind of give him a little bit of character. So, but for now, I'm going to do that one and this little guy just in plain black. Okay, and those are just to add into your tray wherever you'd like, wherever you just want a little bit of filler. As you're doing these small intricate pieces, make sure you're dabbing off your extra paint so it doesn't get gloppy on you. And your pieces are on the parchment paper, so you will want to use your extra sheet of parchment to take off. You can either use it to paint on, so add your pieces to it, but I suggest leaving them on the paper that they came on and taking off the ones that wouldn't be black. So for this one, actually, for me, I'm painting everything that was on this piece of parchment in your kit is going to be black. All the lettering except for the 2 ghosts. Those would be white. So if you just take those 2 ghosts and put them onto your extra sheet of parchment while you paint the black, that'll help keep everything nice and neat. A few black things. Normally we don't have much black, but Halloween, right? Okay. These guys, again, a lot of these pieces, you'll want to go back and add some little character to them. Like, you don't just want a plain black house on your garland. So think about ways that you'd like to add some character. I'll add some shading to this to make it stand out a little bit and accentuate some of the features of it. The ghost's eyes. Okay, 2 of the rainbow arches, because I'm just going to do an alternating rainbow. A tiny bit more black here. That is everything that's black. Move this all over so I don't accidentally get any other color on it. And we'll have to, when we put everything together, we'll sort it all back out. Okay, let me go ahead and do the white so that we can put this guy together. I like to kind of put things together as we can so it keeps it interesting and keeps the momentum going for you so you can kind of start seeing stuff come together. Alright, so I'm gonna just barely snip that corner of white. Just pour a little bit out. I'm gonna use the other, I really don't have a lot of white in this kit. With it being Halloween, obviously ghosts are white, but I didn't want too much. Want things to look too washed out, so there's that little guy, and then the only other white is actually the backer for the big ghost and the little ghost for the garland. So And again, with these, I'll go back and do a little bit of shading. Actually, I'll go ahead and do it since I'm using the same sponge I used for my black. So I can go ahead and show how we would do some shading on these. You may want to wait to do your shading in case you want 2 coats of black, but that's up to you. I like it a little bit light on the coats, so you just take this and do some light. I have hardly any black in here, so I'm just doing some, sorry, you can't see that, some swipes with this part that we used for the black. It's got a little bit of leftover black paint in there, so I'm just going to add a shadow around his body, and you know, just a little bit of distressing, and that's it. You can just do the shadow around it if you'd prefer, just whatever look you're going for. It can be nice and clean and crisp, or kind of more spooky. See if I can position my hands a little bit better so y'all can see how I'm doing it. I don't want to use swiping motion up here at the top because you're going to get white paint in those holes, and it'll look kind of gloppy. So use your dab, dab, dab technique when you're up here at the top, so you don't get any buildup in there. And then if you want to swipe down, you can. And again, just so my pieces match, and while I have black on the sponge before it all dries out, I'm going to go ahead and add a few little accent shadows on here. We're not aiming for perfection, just really kind of pushing that sponge into those curves. A lot of times I don't use this much pressure because I'm really looking for a very light accent around the edge. But with these, I'm going a little bit heavier, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of a shadow down here at the bottom. Or distressing, I guess is really what you would call that. So there's my last ghost, and then I just have this guy to do. And a little bit more white. If you pour white directly onto this one, I would not do it right over the shiplap lines unless you want them to kind of fade away. If you don't want them at all, this is not a very difficult design. You can figure out where the pieces go. You don't technically need that scoring, so you can use the back of your ghost and just paint it if you would prefer to not have him shiplap. Here. Okay, so I want a little bit more black in my sponge. I'm just going to put a tiny bit, and I'm really going to work it in because I don't want like a dark black streak. So I'm really going to work that into my sponge before I use it on my piece. And just work it into those curves. I'm gonna go over this. I don't love how dark that was up there at the top, so I'm just gonna go back over this a little bit with white, just a real light coat of white, and then go back through it with my black again, but stay a little bit closer to the edge so I don't get quite as much of a shadow there. And so now it's just kind of like a faded shadow. Okay. Okay, let's see. I am gonna go ahead and put this together. So yours is already on the, you just need to peel it off of your parchment. Carefully line this up before you press it down. You want to make sure it is on there lined up really well before you apply pressure. And then once it's good, you just press all the way around. That's going to make that adhesive really stick. And I suggest laying out all of your pieces on your parchment the way that you want them, and then transferring them over so that the placement is good to go. If that seems difficult, or if you've already gone too far, the approximate placement is going to be just a tiny bit. Basically, U from the U is directly centered. So if you've got it, haunt it. Okay. Then your ghosts. Here and over there, and I'm not gonna take the time to peel all that adhesive on video, but that's the finished look you've got there. Okay, moving on, we'll go ahead and do the purple. So, all right, I need a new sponge. Got a little bit of purple on my orange here. Swipe that off. Okay, so for my purple, I'm doing Spooky in purple. Again, for your letters, make sure that you don't have too much paint and that you use that dabbing, quick, even pressure across your pieces. Okay, and then for this detail on the hat, I'm going to do that in black. Okay. So you have a brush that's similar to this one. Most of yours will be blue. And just to fill this in, just use little quick motions until you're happy with the coverage. I don't suggest a whole lot of paint on your brush. Just really work in some paint so that as you're moving around, you're not running out of paint or leaving globs of paint. And doing this motion is going to help you sort of groom the bristles. Now, to clean that up just a bit, I'm just going to go around it with my fingernail. I'm just picking up, I don't know if you saw that, I just picked up some extra paint that was on there. And you want to do that once so that you don't redeposit paint. And then just go back around, clean up any areas that that you like. It's going to be difficult for the purple to totally cover that black, so don't worry if you're trying to clean out the inside of this. It's not going to be a huge deal if you swipe over where the buckle is, because you're going to have to kind of work it in to make those areas less visible. So that's that. What I will say, I should have shown this before. If you have a Sharpie, you can also just color this in with a Sharpie. Okay, or a paint pen if you prefer that. It'll be a little bit easier. And let's see. Okay, now I went over that with purple quite a bit, and it's still black, so can't really mess it up. Moving on to these two guys. With this part of your rainbow, you really want to make sure you don't have too much paint, because it's going to be difficult to clean out that squiggly line if we get too much in there. Okay. Obviously, as always, you guys can choose to use totally different colors for your kit. I had one lady do her whole kit just black and white, and it turned out really cute. So, you know, there's no right or wrong. And this is the third and final bat, and I'm going to do that purple just because I don't really have a whole lot of purple in this kit. I didn't do any backgrounds purple or anything. The only purple stuff are little details, so I wanted to have something that was a little bit more, just to help tie everything together. that's everything purple. Last but not least, we've got orange. And I'm just going to use this end of my sponge for the orange. Alright, I'm going to do this little tongue first because I don't want to lose that little guy. So again, you don't want to get any globs of paint down in that like lightning bolt on his tongue. So light coats of paint there. And when you get to this house, I really struggle with what color to paint this, so we'll see. I've seen it done a lot of different ways and I liked all of them, so but kind of for the same reason I did the bat orange, I decided on, the bat purple, I decided on orange for this guy, just to kind of help tie everything in. So we are going to do all of it orange, and then we'll come back and we can add some fun little accents after. So we'll just kind of do, we'll call it a base coat of orange, and then see where our creativity takes us. Okay. This is the little dot. Make sure you don't lose that guy either. He's the dot for the exclamation point. I'm so sorry guys, I keep looking over and noticing that y'all can't see anything. Okay. And last thing to paint, and we're done with the main painting. We still are going to go back in, like I said, and add some accents. Always remember you don't want to swipe your paint over into the piece, so that you don't, meaning coming from the outside and going in, so that you don't want to get a sloppy edge. So whoop. Always just go over that lip from the inside. So this goes like so. You'll be peeling these off of your paper. But just do this real quick so you can see how it all comes together. Spooky. Okay, so when you do this, when you're peeling them off of your paper, put your put your circle, your perimeter down first, and put your spooky down, because that'll help you get your placement for your arches down correctly. So that's that piece. And if you wanted to add like even some white accents to this, like on the rainbow arches, that would be cute. Okay, this guy's gonna go, obviously, this one's pretty simple. Okay. We already did the accents on him, so we're all set there, and you got those score lines, so your ghost is super simple. Okay. All right, so add some accents to this little garland piece, I'm just going to do white. So it'll coordinate well with the ghosts that are white with black. So just really work some white into your sponge. When you tap on when you dab, you want, like, I mean, hardly anything to come off. And then I'm gonna just start by doing a little swiping around the perimeter and see what I think. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit around these features. Your edges are always going to pick up a little bit more paint, so you know, when you go over them, so it's using these sponges with this technique is a nice way to get a good outline. And I like this. I'm probably not gonna do much more with that, so I'm gonna leave that like that. Okay, for my ghost, I'm sorry, for my bat, I'm gonna do some purple. Let's see, we have two bats. Let me do Alright, I'm gonna start with orange. And I'm gonna just work some orange paint into my brush. And I'm going to start with kind of an outline. Just long, even strokes around the perimeter. We're not trying to be perfect. I want those sort of heavier places So kind of the same technique in this tight area as you use with your sponge, but down here, the reason I'm not just using the sponge is because you wouldn't be able to see it. It would be too light, and I want these areas where that paint really kind of laid thick, I want those just to add that extra character to the piece. And your sponge wouldn't give you that. I don't even think you would really be able to see it. Okay, I'll stop right there and see. I feel like on this video, this is not showing nearly as bright as it is in person, but you have to check out the videos, the pictures of it, and hopefully get a better idea. Okay, for my purple, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do this bat. I'm just gonna do some purple polka dots on him. So I'm gonna get the end of my paintbrush and stick it into a pile of purple paint. And if you do a really light touch, you're gonna get a teeny tiny little dot. And if you apply pressure, you're gonna get a larger dot, depending on how much paint you have on the tip of your brush. So that is the difference there. And I'm just gonna kind of do some different sizes all over. just let them naturally get smaller as the paint wears down. You don't want it to get too low, because then you're not going to have a dot, you're just going to have a mark. Okay, there's that guy. And finally, for my purple one, I think I'm going to put some black on. Groom my bristles here. And the nice thing about your bats is there's no front or back, so if you do something and you hate it, just paint the other side. You can paint over. Just gonna do some like light stripes on this guy. I'm gonna alternate the direction that I do them in. Start from the top and then start from the bottom, because I don't want my where it's heaviest to always be at the top or always be at the bottom. So if I walk you through my mental process right now, I'm thinking this is not what I envisioned, but I'm gonna play with it for a minute and just see if I come to terms with what I've done here. Okay. Okay, so you can decide what you think. I tell you, every time I paint these things, paint a kit of any kind, I always try something a little bit different, and I think I like it. I think it looks kind of spooky and different, so I'm gonna leave it. Maybe you wouldn't, and that's okay. You have a second side that you could do. Okay. That's all my bats. Alright, so for this, I'm going to paint my little spider black. You could paint his thread from his little spider web white if you wanted to. Gave him some little spooky eyes. Let's see. I'm going to use a Sharpie to show you what I was trying to say before, and you can always do this. They have paint pen Sharpies. Okay, so now you see, and you could do the same effect by using the shadowing technique we talked about earlier. I'm gonna kind of put some black in here, not perfectly. We want to keep things looking kind of spooky, you know? So you could come in here and do just some tiny little like dots on these stems. All right, so I'm gonna leave that like that, and that's about it. We assembled all of our pieces. The only thing left to do is going to be to string up your garland, and when you do that, my suggestion is always to come from the bottom and go over the top. And then you can pull this to reposition, kind of move it over, pull, and that way your string is going across the two holes, not coming from the outside. But completely up to you. One last thing I did have somebody do, they had a cute idea to just take some little small ribbon, and they strung it through there and tied little bows once they had their garland strung up, and it turned out really cute. The little orange bows. So just some different ideas. If you guys want to keep working outside of the kit, you're certainly welcome to do that. And that's all. Thanks so much, guys. I'm going to lay this all out so it is the last thing that you see before you turn off the video. Happy painting.